Indiana Hoosiers Live 52, Hollywood goes Bloomington, and who else to talk about the UCLA Bruins besides our own Bradley Loomis than Matt Zemek from UCLA Wire. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Who thought we'd be here, right? Who thought UCLA would draw enough interest to get on Fox Big Noon Saturday? Obviously, Indiana, with Kurt Signetti, the rock star, on course to achieve all 2025 goals. But UCLA being part of this, that is the wild card from nowhere.
Well, Brad, you are our Pasadena
resident. Such a great story, and it's going to be an early one. I know my folks are going to be up early at 9 a.m. watching that one, so it's going to be exciting.
Well, I was going to say, Brad, you're the Pasadena resident. Matt, you cover the team. So, Matt, I'll start with you. You led with it. Nobody really thought we would be here after the start of the season. At the beginning of the season, what was the vibe around that team? Because from afar, it looked like they were going to be pretty talented.
Yeah, I mean, a bowl game was the expectation. I mean, and some of the people in the Los Angeles media were thinking, 8-4, that this is a manageable Big Ten schedule. If you get past Indiana and Ohio State, not those two games, but the rest of the Big Ten schedule was viewed by a lot of UCLA insiders as manageable. My goal, my personal thought was 6-6. Just get to a bowl game. You just need to be playing in the postseason. You need to be getting those bowl practices, right? When a stagnant program needs to rise among the ranks, you need those 15 December practices, to develop players for the following season. That's how programs climb their way up the ladder. And so, that was the goal. And so, and it's really unfortunate from a UCLA perspective that 4-game start torched most likely aspirations of a bowl game, because right now UCLA is playing like a bowl team, beating the teams that it should beat in the Big Ten. And if you had Tim Skipper, Jerry Neuheisel, and Kevin Coyle for, I'm not going to say Utah, but certainly for UNLV, a team which, has given up 48 or more points the past 2 games, and also New Mexico, which has leveled off in recent weeks. If Skipper, Neuheisel, Coyle were around for those 2 games, UCLA is a 5-win team and is definitely going to make a bowl game. So it's just a shame that, really, it's a shame that Martin Jarman didn't, he didn't fire Chip Kelly right after 2023. I know this is kind of inside baseball, but this is why UCLA is in this position.
We're speaking Brad's language right now.
Martin Jarman did not fire Chip Kelly right after a bad season-ending 2023 loss to Cal, and he dithered, and that's what enabled Danton Lynn to go to USC. That enabled Lincoln Riley to poach Danton Lynn from UCLA, and everything was twisting in the wind. And then Martin Jarman finally push out Chip Kelly too late, right? And then settle on Deshaun Foster, who had no previous experience as a coordinator or as a head coach. And you saw the results. You saw it, last year. You saw it last year when you played Indiana. When Indiana played UCLA, and then you saw it in the first 4 games this year. And, we might as well just get into the UCLA conversation a little bit. 99% of what we've seen from UCLA in terms of this 180-degree turnaround from that awful 0-4 start, 99% is effort. It's really not that much about scheme. It's really not that much about, finding some kind of X and O angle, although Tim Skipper's been really good on special teams. He just faked out James Franklin with an onside kick. He faked out Jonathan Smith of Michigan State with a fake punt. But it's 99% effort, because UCLA's offensive line was a piñata in September. They got dominated by Northwestern. And that was actually Skipper's first game. Skipper was just kind of inheriting his situation. He was stepping into it brand new. So obviously there was only so much Skipper could do, his first week, his first game on the job. But as soon as that Northwestern game ended, it's pretty clear that Tim Skipper instilled a culture of toughness, instilled a climate of accountability. And ever since then, it's maximum effort. Every play, every snap. So this team just, it goes from being dog walked by New Mexico. That was a 25-point margin at home in the Rose Bowl. And you go to beating Penn State and blowing the doors off Michigan State. And actually, UCLA and Indiana both beat Michigan State 38-13. Like that, it is effort, man. It's all about effort. These guys are just going balls to the wall. And under Deshaun Foster, like, they quit. Like the first, it wasn't, they didn't even get punched in the mouth. Like, just, if someone just kind of touched their face, they would just kind of melt. So it is just an effort thing. And one thing to underscore here is that, we've all seen players, coaches, right? The players will all profess to love the coaching staff, but they still don't do the fundamentals. They still aren't going to follow through with the details. And this UCLA coaching staff, the players love them, but they also follow through with the effort, with the details. Like, that's how they beat Maryland. They didn't play well. The offense didn't play well. And yet the defense keeps getting stops at lots of adversity, trailed in the fourth quarter. Nico Iamaleava throws a pick six. He also gets hurt. They overcome all of that. Like, it's a 180 in terms of culture and mindset and identity with this team.
Yeah, one thing with the effort piece is that, like, with UCLA, they're always going to have the athlete, right? They're always going to have that level of talent needed to be competitive. And, seeing them lose to the Lobos, of all teams, something that should never, ever, 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 ever happen in Pasadena. It was very clear that the team gave up, quit, whatever you want to call it, and just the effort wasn't there. And it's amazing how much talent they have in that they're able to just turn it around in a snap, right, and knock off a top 5 team at home with an early kick too. It's something they're historically, I would say, not very great at, right? And it's a really cool story, and obviously they're hoping to continue it. Big test on the road in the heartland, the crossroads of America in Bloomington.
Matt, you touched on the effort piece and how that has been like the biggest key in the resurgence and the turnaround. But if you could talk specifics a little bit, what is this defense doing to not get run out of the building, and not just not get run out of the building? Like, that Maryland offense, and a freshman quarterback going across the country, but like, that Maryland offense was playing well. Like, we're talking about a Penn State team, but this is 2 or 3 losses ago, right? Like, they're not completely broken yet. So what is the defense doing well? Because one of the things that I came across when I did my little dive into UCLA is that they really don't get after the quarterback, and they don't create negative plays, and they don't really turn the ball over in the secondary either. So, like, what are they doing?
Yeah, it's not a tidal wave of splash plays or, negative plays, tackles for loss, but so much of September, if you were watching this team, was they just get bowled over, like, just no resistance. And it's just kind of funny how just put up some resistance, right? Just, get another team in the 2nd and 6, and you have a fighting chance. But when teams are getting 12, 13 yards a play, or they're in 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1, like, you have no shot. So it's one of these things where you don't have to set the bar so high. It's that the bar was so low to begin with, and just being kind of average, in the middle, it feels like they're not doing anything great, but just because of where they were in September, it's a huge advancement. They went from being absolute bottom of the barrel to being, okay, moderate. And just being moderate feels like, wow, we're kings of the hill. So that kind of creates part of the perspective. In terms of Maryland, let's just do Maryland specifically. Their corners held up one-on-one against Maryland's receivers, and until the end, Malik Washington busted loose for a long scramble late to tie that game at 17-all, but they contained him. Like, they shut off running lanes for Malik Washington, and so discipline, staying at home, being in the right position. Like, Kevin Coyle, Jerry Neuheisel's gotten so much praise, and all of it deserved. But Saturday was Kevin Coyle, the other coordinator. It was his time to shine because that UCLA's defense was, they could not slip up. Maryland led that game 10-7 for a good portion of that second half. They allow one touchdown, win trailing 10-7. That's ball game. But they kept it at a field goal deficit until late in the fourth quarter. Nico throws the go-ahead touchdown pass. But so they don't get blown away. So they mount some resistance. It's like they don't need to be the 1985 Bears, but there's a fundamental competence that's in there. But also you can tell by the discipline that they aren't letting mobile quarterbacks torch them on the ground. Their lane integrity, gap integrity, they are minding those details, which were completely out the door under the previous regime.
Brad, do you have a takeaway from the UCLA defense the past couple weeks?
Yeah, they really showed up. Obviously, with Penn State, with that first week with Coyle, it's only natural that they give up 30 plus to a team of that caliber. But then seeing them what's really been impressive about them is Kevin Coyle's performance. Seeing them take on middle of the pack teams in the Big Ten like Michigan State and Maryland and shut them down offensively. And credit to Kevin Coyle. It's almost like he deserves even more credit than Jerry Neuheisel at this point. And yeah, it's just been really impressive what they've been able to do on not just one side of the ball, but both sides of the ball moving forward. Because like I said before, they have the athlete always to get the job done. It really just comes down to a structure and a discipline, which a program that probably hasn't had it in my entire life, to be quite honest. So, because they've had some crazy talented teams over the years, Jim Mora's era is the one that comes to mind where it's just like, man, that team was uber talented and they just, for whatever reason, just couldn't win a Pac-12 championship for whatever reason, despite having probably the most NFL talent in that conference at the time. So it's good to see that they're making strides. It's awesome to see that, that could be the regime moving forward. I would love to kind of hear from Matt, moving forward, big picture beyond the season. Because like you said, this season's it's going to be tough sledding, despite how well they're playing, to make a bowl game. And they're going to have some big decisions to make after the offseason. What is the plan to fix UCLA? Obviously, it starts with Martin Jarmon, who's, I don't think either of us are big fans of him.
Well, Brad, I'd like to add when you're done too.
And yeah, what is it? Is it sticking with Tim Skipper? Obviously, you want to keep Jerry Neuheisel around. That's a guy who's been very vocal about wanting the head coaching position. He's only been a coordinator for 3 weeks, so it's almost like doing the same thing with Deshaun Foster over again. So it could be really tricky. Maybe you keep Tim Skipper there just so you can keep Jerry. What is kind of either the buzz going around, or what do you think they should do?
And then real quick, I'll add to that. CJ Lavender was a flip today from Washington. So that staff is actively adding talent. So
Lauderdale High School, big time commitment.
To
Brad's question, what is the future for UCLA?
And I think that's what makes this Indiana game so interesting and also important. I think that, if UCLA can play Indiana close, and by close, I mean it's a legitimate one-score game, maybe 10 points. It's not one of these deals where, Indiana leads by 23 and then UCLA scores a couple garbage time touchdowns to make it seem respectable. I mean a legitimate 60-minute.
Hey, that's a good move.
What?
I said that's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, if UCLA can really stand in the ring, you're not expecting to win, but if it goes 15 rounds on the judges' scorecard and you don't get knocked out early, if UCLA can give Indiana a legitimate, rugged battle, then that would go a long way toward Skipper, Neuheisel, Coyle all being retained. Because, as well as this staff has done, let's be honest, Michigan State is a disaster under Jonathan Smith. Aiden Childs is not good. That program's a sinking ship. And Maryland, Mike Loxley, Maryland's blown fourth quarter leads in 3 straight games, and that program is also floundering. It's just stuck. It's spinning its wheels. But now you make that huge step up in weight class. You're playing the number 2 team in the country, and you have Fox Big Noon Saturday there. So It's not as though Indiana, is ignoring UCLA. Like the Bruins have Indiana's full attention. So like UCLA is not going to sneak up on Indiana. Like Signetti is going to have his team fully prepared. I mean, and for Indiana folks watching here at the Voice of College Football, I'm part of the Curt Signetti fan club. Like I'd love to have him coach at USC, but obviously that got swatted away with the new extension. But like,
well, I mean, that guy. I mean, Derek Owings. USC tried to come after Derek Owings, obviously, as you know.
That's right. Yes, the strength coach. Yeah, yeah. So, I'm a Signetti believer. Was from the start. Certainly, like I was saying, not Kenny Dillingham for Coach of the Year last year. It was Signetti because he did in year one. Dillingham needed a second year at Arizona State. So, like, UCLA is not going to sneak up on Indiana. So if UCLA can actually make this a ball game, that would say, okay, this interim coaching staff is for real. Like they can go toe to toe with the big boys. Like, what more do you want? What more do you want if you're UCLA? If you can go, just make Indiana earn it on the road, body clock game, 9 a.m. Pacific. What else is there to say? I guess the Ohio State game, which is in mid-November, but really, like if they can just do it this week, and by do it I just mean make Indiana earn it. I don't know what more UCLA should look for, and let's keep in mind UCLA's other candidates, at least some of the other candidates that have been mentioned. Jed Fish, he's not doing well. Washington can't score any points against the best teams in the Big Ten. You look elsewhere across the country, like, where is that perfect hire going to be? And because Skipper Neuheisel-Coyle are so beloved by the players, and the players are maxing out in terms of effort for them, why would you want to go outside the family to hire a new coach who's probably going to, change the staff, which means Jerry Neuheisel isn't your offensive coordinator. Like that wouldn't go down well with the fan base. The other piece of this is that Martin Jarman needs to be fired. Like it is conclusive. It is clear he does not know how to manage the football program. Now, Olympic sports, sure, but like that's an old thing for lots of West Coast sports programs. That the Olympic sports are all well and good, and you get on the medal stand, every 4 years, but it's football. Like, and UCLA is a cash poor program. They're paying all that calimony, the $10 million annual fee to Berkeley for leaving the Big Ten. That goes through the California Board of Regents. That was a penalty that UCLA's on the hook for annually. So, like, you can't have 35,000 at the Rose Bowl. You need to be filling seats. You need to be getting 70,000 in the yard. You need to be removing those big tarps that Indiana fans saw a year ago, and which are still very much in place there. You need to be packing them in, and so you can't have Martin Jarman stay on because he inspires absolutely zero trust in the football program at UCLA.
100%. And like the UC Regents in general just need to take football a little bit more seriously across the entire state, not just UCLA, but also Cal. Wilcox has done a great job there with everything that, he doesn't have really. His lack of resources, still able to put on a competitive, team at least year in and year out. And like you could throw me as an AD, and like Olympic sports at UCLA are going to be just fine. Like that is the one school where you don't really have to worry about bringing in the best swimmers, the best tennis players, the best basketball players. Like that is the cream of the crop when it comes to that realm of athletics. So it really comes down to just focusing on football, and everything else will fall into place. And Martin Jarman has shown an inability to do that. And I've said it on this podcast before that he needs to be fired, and I'll say it again. I agree 100%. He needs to be fired, and they need to move on and find a new direction.
No question about it.
All right, I'll rein it back in for some UCLA football talk. We'll leave Martin Jarman alone. I feel like we beat him enough. Obviously deserved. Keep going after him. The UCLA fans are saying, but this UCLA offense, Neuheisel's gotten a ton of praise. Obviously, the locker room speeches and like the hair and the Hollywood stuff, like all that helps, and the connection with his father and the fact that he played there, all that stuff is all well and good. what is this offense doing really schematically that's been so successful? Or is it really just Nico is finally just saying, screw it, I'm just going to let my athleticism take over? And
yeah, the players claim that they're not revolutionizing the playbook, that Jerry Neuheisel is not, doing something completely different from what Tino Sunseri, a guy you all know well. The players are saying it's not an extraordinary overhaul of the playbook or the scheme. The real difference, it's not Nico and it's not any of the backs or receivers. The offensive line. The offensive line was a featherweight. The offensive line was a fluffy pillow that just, could not protect Nico. Nico was, Nico's been, the last few weeks, Nico's been running with a purpose. Like, he attacks running lanes, he sees the running lane early on the play, and he scoots, and the defenses are way out of position. They're out of place. They're caught off guard. The first month of the season, Nico was running a lot, but he was scrambling for his life. Like, he was just being chased 10, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So Nico's been running the whole season, but under the new regime, he's running with a purpose for big positive plays and keeping defenses, off balance in terms of respecting the pass game versus having to spy him as a running threat. But in the first half of the season, or in September, Nico was running a lot, but it was like he was just wanted to avoid getting decapitated. He wanted to avoid getting his brains crushed because opponents were just caving the pocket. It was just a tidal wave. He had no chance, no shot. Like, his performances, his numbers didn't look great, but like, he just had no help. He was one man on an island with none of his 10 teammates helping him. So really, the offensive line, which really, that offensive line defeated Penn State's defensive line. Like, no one was expecting that in the Penn State upset. And then UCLA just absolutely pounded the ball down Michigan State's throat, start to finish. It was an absolute slaughter in the trenches. So the UCLA offensive line is really the key, that they're blowing guys off the ball, whereas previously they were just absolutely getting dominated. And I think that just in this UCLA-Indiana game, I think what's most interesting to me, purely from a matchup standpoint, purely in terms of personnel, are UCLA's front lines ready to deal with Indiana's heavyweights, up front? That to me, like, it's the whole ball game, right? Like, Nico's going to have zero chance if UCLA's offensive line gets completely dominated and overpowered. Like, UCLA's lines, which, did their job against Penn State and Michigan State, and the defensive line, UCLA defensive line, did its job against the Maryland offensive line. Can they now, again, make that step up in weight class? Because, like, now you're going up against Prime Tyson.
Yeah, it's a big right? ask.
Now you're going up against. Yeah, you're going up against Ollie and Frazier now. You're not going up against a tomato can. So to me, that is what's most interesting, purely in terms of matchups, purely in terms of personnel, bodies, and how good UCLA really is. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't know how good UCLA is. My lean is that Indiana does give a thumping to the Bruins, but this is a team that has surprised me the last 3 weeks. They could surprise me for a fourth week. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's a tall ask for that O-line, just considering, like, I don't know if you've seen any, like, the Havoc ratings on on Twitter or anything like that. Indiana, based on the stats, far and away the most havoc creating defensive line in the country. It's them, and that's everyone else based on the graphics that I'm seeing. So it's going to be a tall ask.
Indiana controlled Oregon on the line of scrimmage in Autzen Stadium. So yeah, that's a really high bar that I'm very skeptical UCLA is even going to come close to.
With Oregon being considered one of the best O-lines in the country, it's going to be
right. Dan Lanning has prided himself on having an elite offensive line, and Indiana just he knocked down that particular pillar of the Oregon program.
Still crazy to listen to people outside of the program refer to the Indiana both offensive lines and their team in this way. It is euphoric, I will say that. I got one more question for you, and then we'll get you on out of here. Very much appreciate your time. You've been around this UCLA team all year. What is the most interesting thing you've picked up from following them for 6 or 7 weeks?
I mean, I don't recall an interim coaching staff making this much of a difference with a team this quickly. It's one thing for an interim staff to come in, and then maybe like a month later, it all kind of comes together. Players begin to figure it out. Everybody begins to be on the same page. No, this was in 2 weeks. This was a 2-week deal for UCLA to this isn't a slight change, right? This is a total transformation. This is a complete 180. Just going everyone who followed UCLA when the team was 0-4 felt, well, you look at the schedule, this is probably an 0-12 team. Like, we're going to be Ty Willingham and the 2008 Washington Huskies.
Jake Walker.
Last Pac-10, Pac-12 teams to have the donut, the big bagel. And now we're talking, oh, this team could go to a bowl game. I mean, not likely, but it's a legitimate possibility. And UCLA hosts Nebraska later this season. I think UCLA wins that game.
Yeah.
I think UCLA's.
I think they're favored.
UCLA won at Nebraska last year, and UCLA has a better quarterback this year. So and Nebraska, of course, just got dog walked by Minnesota, which lost by 13 to Cal. And I watched that Cal North Carolina game Friday night. Woof! Cal's receivers dropped almost 10 passes, and they almost lost to a Belichick coach team at home. And that team beat Minnesota by 13, and Minnesota beat Nebraska by 18. So, yeah, I think UCLA beats Nebraska. So I didn't think I'd be thinking any of these thoughts a month ago, and yet here we are. So it's just the dramatic change with this interim coaching staff from following UCLA. That's the thing. You do not see this ordinarily in sports, that an interim patchwork staff, which is not very experienced. Jerry Neuheisel's never been an offensive coordinator before, and he outcoached the $3.1 million man, Jim Knowles, in his first game. That is nuts. That's crazy. So crazy. That gives you a taste of what's been so surprising about UCLA.
Brad?
I mean, he nailed it right on the head.
You looked like you had something to add.
No, it's just I was just thinking a potential path. I think they do get that Nebraska win. I don't think they're going to go into Bloomington and get a dub. It's going to be just as hard in Columbus. But, I mean, it's realistic the way they're playing. Nebraska, Washington, and USC, all winnable games. USC is always a winnable game. Doesn't matter how bad UCLA is. And then another thought that came to my mind was you reminded me, Pac-12 memory of the week, 0-11 Washington State taking on 0-11 Washington in the Apple Cup. Loser is the toilet king back in 08, like Matt was saying. Yeah, we do. That's a little segment we do, Pac-12 memory of the week. So that's.
Have you done the 1983 toilet bowl between Oregon and Oregon State?
Oh no, I wasn't around for that.
Okay, well that can be your next segment or episode. Look that one up. You'll never guess the final score.
Yeah.
I absolutely love
6-3.
Matt, you
want to take the under on that one.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matt, we have articles coming out tomorrow. I think I'm gonna see yours published, and then I'm gonna tail the format the exact same way. But kind of tell the people where they can find those, or yours at least.
So, I do write for Trojans Wire, but I also write for UCLA Wire. I cover just West Coast college football for Gannett Corporation, the USA Today College Wire Network. So, yeah, we have plenty of UCLA, Indiana coverage already up at UCLA Wire, and a lot more through the week. And just we're going to cover the heck out of this game because it's a big deal. When we did a very simple basic newser on, hey, Fox Big Noon Saturday, that got some of our higher page view counts. So there's real grassroots excitement at UCLA about this game.
That is very, very exciting. And you can find my article on voiceofcollegefootball.com. Those will both be out tomorrow at some point during the day. You'll see there will be tweets. You can follow Matt on Twitter is it at Zemek Matt? Is it
Matt Zemek? Yeah,
Matt
Zemek. Yeah.
Yep. Matt, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining.
Had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. And all success. I'm definitely pulling for Indiana to rise to the very top of college football.
Appreciate that very much. Matt Zemek, man of many hats. Thank you very
much. Go Bruins, but next week.